This has got to be one of the most boring horror movies that I have seen in a very, very long time. PG-13 or not. Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Mr. Harrigan's Phone. Now this is a brand new horror film available on Netflix and it stars Donald Sutherland. Now before I get into all things watching paint dry on a wall, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're going to come back and discuss. My expectations going into this movie were not high at all. But man, could y'all at least give us something to do and something to look at while we're waiting? Huh.
Go back.
Now that you guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me, let's get into this movie. But before we jump into what I liked about the movie and what I didn't like so much, let me just discuss why I even flocked to this movie at all. Not only the fact that it was a horror movie, but the fact that we had Jaeden Martell here and we had Donald Sutherland, two actors that I really love for totally different reasons, appearing in this movie. First, Jaeden Martell is an up-and-coming young talent in my opinion. I absolutely loved him in the 2017 It movie, and I also loved him in the horror movie The Lodge, and I loved him recently when I watched a movie by the name of Metal Lords. I feel like he has a lot to offer and I'm looking forward to seeing more. I also really love the fact that we have Donald Sutherland here. I love him as an actor. I don't know about anybody else, but I just love to listen to his voice and hear him speak. He is very much so seasoned, old school talent. So for him to return here, not only in a movie with him getting older, but a horror movie. The Don't Look Now, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, even though that can be considered comedy. And also one of my favorite horror movies, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I was so looking forward to seeing him here and seeing him shine, and just that draw that we get from the Stephen King name. All of the, adaptations or whatever, it doesn't even matter. When you see Stephen King, you click. And as far as Netflix, all of the adaptations that they have had come, the 1922 or the Gerald's Game, I enjoyed all of those. So I figured that I would enjoy this one as well, even though it did have a PG-13 rating, but that didn't worry me too much because movies like Lights Out, Final Girls, Insidious, Skeleton Key, Drag Me to Hell, The Quiet Place, PG-13 isn't always, in X as far as horror and what we can expect. You can still expect a quality story and some jumps with the PG-13 rating. Now, getting into the things that I actually liked about this movie, all of the Stephen King movie staples were here. The death of a loved one, that awkward kind of emotionally unavailable parent, our lead character Craig, he wants to be a writer. We have the bully, we have the small town of Maine, we have that running theme of, not only writing, but books, all the reading. Every single element to get a pretty good movie was here. The setup and possibility for what this movie could actually turn into. We have our loner here, Craig, kind of taken under the wing of this rich, ominous, older recluse, Mr. Harrigan, with a shaky and maybe even dark background to read him books. They find common interests, they bond over time, they are considered friends and almost family, only for Mr. Harrigan to die and do haunting things from beyond the grave, with us questioning Craig's moral compass all the way through. I was absolutely sort of here for that. Too bad we did not use any of these staples to our advantage. There are literally just a handful, a sprinkle of things that I enjoyed about this film, starting of course with Donald Sutherland's performance. He is just as commanding as he was from day one. He has so much screen presence. Anytime that he is there, the movie absolutely picks up. The acting was fabulous as usual. He is absolutely the highlight of this movie and needed more screen time. I love him there as that older man, you know, all anti-technology. I love that he has the prediction of, you know, hey, if it's so easy to access these things, you know, what about, you know, what do books mean? What about newspapers? What about this? I love his stance here in this movie as far as phones and just what the world is going to become. And I also really enjoyed Jaeden Martell here in the moments that he did get to shine as an actor. There are moments here where he really needs to emote. He needs to be, you know, frustrated, angry, passionate, vulnerable, and he did a really good job conveying that. Was it enough of that? Absolutely not, because we were spending way too much time giving us a horror movie without any real horrors. This movie is absolutely boring. So freaking boring. Let's get into what I did not like about this movie. The atmosphere and the scenes within this movie are absolutely dead. This has to be one of the most boring high school settings that I have ever seen in my life. Please set the mood. If it had not been for them speaking to the fact that, oh, this is, you know, the very first iPhone to come out, I wouldn't have known what time period it was. Absolutely no atmosphere is set here with our character. Nobody is really fleshed out outside of maybe Craig. Like, it is just absolutely terrible. We don't even have the advantage of having just witty teenage dialogue being exchanged. Every single moment is an awkward encounter when we are not texting. It just felt really unrealistic. When we are privileged to know the information that this is actually 2006, 2007, the early release of that first iPhone, the movie gives us nothing to do within this high school that we spend so much time in outside of, you know, him spending time with Mr. Harrigan. The fact that we only had the school kind of being biased and separated off of, you know, the popularity of who had what phone. And I do get the running theme of, you know, technology and change. We do have that lack of dialogue due to these kids, you know, so engrossed in their phones and texting. And it's kind of, you know, projection on, you know, look at where we are now, ha ha ha. But yeah, damn, give these teens something to do and something to say. Boring. Speaking of giving these teens something to do and something to say, I absolutely like the energy and the aura around the bully. He was his whole image, it was giving me 1990 Ghost, that ghost, that subway ghost in the movie Ghost, like that man, he was really giving me that, and I really liked his presence. Too bad we only got about this much of it. Being that this is a Stephen King adaptation, I really expected for that bully to push through a little bit more, get a little bit more screen time, so that when we do have him come at Craig, you know, there's some type of balance. There was absolutely nothing. We barely got to see him, and when we did have the initial, you know, assault happen, it was so much later in the film, I almost freaking forgot about him. But it's not like that would have mattered too much, though. We didn't even take out the time to give our bully some real motivation to come at Craig outside of him being, you know, a kid from the wrong side of the tracks, and I guess just wanting to beat Craig up, just because, like, it was just lacking on all fronts, especially with the pacing. Everything just seemed to drag and go on and on and on. I was there for, you know, sitting and getting invested in our Donald Sutherland character and, you know, our Jaeden Martell character, you know, building that bond, that relationship, seeing what's lacking and what he wasn't getting from, you know, his dad at home, you know, the both of them having that common interest of a mother dying young, getting that, you know, that connection of why he even picked him in the first place, and how devastating it could be to someone to lose somebody like their mother early on. We even get a whole visual interpretation of this, not only from Craig, but from his mother and the relationship that they have moving forward. There were some elements here, but the most important one here, especially when we get into the ending, was Craig being chosen from the beginning, and we have Mr. Harrigan be maybe that older now, but once that very cold, distant, calculated man to, you know, get what he wanted. He has a reputation around town, but he just so happens to have taken a liking to Craig, you know, leave him all of this money, really invest in his dreams. He really cares about this boy for the simple fact that I know who this person is. This is me. But the problem is we have nothing to do on the journey of this. We even hear about all of these things that our Donald Sutherland character used to do. Oh, he was this way, he did this, and all the people. We never actually get a visual for these things. We never actually speak to somebody. There is no type of visual representation for, what the Mr. Harrigan's calm down is. So it's just absolutely boring. I was like expecting something. It's a sad day when you are looking forward to something as measly as a jump scare. There was absolutely nothing here. And when they thought that we were going to be hanging on solely for the aspect of a phone call or a text message, that was not enough, especially when those things came much later in the film. There were so many things that could have been done to build up tension. There is absolutely no pressure, no tension, no story building, no suspense whatsoever in this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, I did really enjoy the time that we got to spend with Mr. Harrigan and Craig, them building up that bond and that relationship. I really loved them, learning things about each other. Like, it was really, really good. They really did a good job on building up why we should invest it in how much he cares about Mr. Harrigan and what that loss really means for him. But in the meantime, we have things like a devil-themed lottery ticket all up and through the movie that we like do. I just knew that devil-themed lottery ticket was gonna mean and do something. Meant absolutely nothing except for the fact that, Craig won some money. I don't know, I guess the Stand By Your Man ringtone popping in every now and again was supposed to do something for us, but it didn't do anything. For the most part, when we do actually have something start to happen, it's so far off in the film from the time that we first meet Mr. Harrigan and Craig and build the relationship, and he gives the phone, puts it in the casket and whatnot, and he's buried with it. By the time we get, what could have been a butt text, we get, the secret messages or, the ominous of, oh my God, there's something going on here. It's just so far off. Like, we're almost hour and 15 minutes into this movie. What are we supposed to do in the meantime besides just be absolutely bored? I love the little contrived, weird relationship that he has with the black teacher in this movie. Like, what was that about? I don't know. Their whole little dynamic, even though there wasn't a whole lot going on, it was very much giving call me when you're 18 type situation. I don't know. But all of that was, to build up to him using that phone to his advantage and, have Mr. Harrigan retaliate on someone who killed her later. Like, it just wasn't enough. And for the most part, I did realize once we got to a certain point that, despite how he felt about, oh, this is just too much, I'm scared, this isn't right, Mr. Harrigan, maybe killed, this bully, he cannot find himself to actually get rid of the phone, which is pulling him closer to be a character like Mr. Harrigan, even though we really didn't get to see what kind of character he was outside of some he say, she say, but that's neither here nor there. Nothing was holding any weight, even though we see the fact that Craig feels like he couldn't confide in anybody but Mr. Harrigan about the bully, and of course he kind of takes his vengeance. And we also kind of have this theme of Mr. Harrigan using things that are synonymous with him, the bar soap, the polish to, off the victims per se. Like, that didn't do a thing. Even when we have him connected to maybe an ex-employee offing himself, let's connect some dots there. We did nothing with that. So in the end, we are literally sitting there for an hour in the end of Craig going through the motions of letting everything go. I'm moving on, I'm growing up, I'm going to college, I'm about to live my best life and be a screenwriter, all while the fact that, he still hasn't thrown that phone away. And when he gets the opportunity to, get vengeance on, an injustice, he uses it and, he regrets it. But in the end, he still holds on to the phone, even though, he wants all this forgiveness and, oh, this was just to bring me closer to my mom. Like, it was just all contrived and tired and bored. This was absolutely not a horror. Maybe if we could have did, a little thriller drama, I don't know, something. But this shouldn't have been considered a horror. I truly think this movie suffered not only because of the poor writing, but also the director here. We have John Lee Hancock as the director, and he is not at all a horror director. He has directed movies like The Rookie, The Blind Side, nothing like this, and this should not have been his coming out. After watching this and realizing that this was one of the few short stories from this Stephen King book, and there were other stories, I really would like to know what those other stories were. because this one was not it. Well, you guys, that was my review for Mr. Harrigan's Phone. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop down and tell me what you thought about my review and what you thought about this movie. Were you as tired and dry as I was watching it, waiting for the time to go on by so you can get it over with? Or did you happen to enjoy this film? I don't know. Leave it down in the comments. I look forward to reading them. I appreciate you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you next time. Bye.